Part 103. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 1023. Xia Lixuan listened to the phone and didn't speak for a long time. On the spur of the moment that day, he left Ning Yue alone to face the guests at the wedding banquet, and he regretted it very much afterwards. He has feelings for Ning Yue, otherwise he would not have married her, but he never thought that he would be blackmailed by Ning Yue. It felt as if he had never known this woman before. Under the gentle and elegant skin of Shiyuan, she was full of calculations and scheming. Ning Yue was right, he did have a few confidant, literati always boasted of being romantic. It's not scary to be romantic, what's scary is, among his confidant, one of them is the wife of his classmate. Although he and the other party are in the past tense, once this kind of thing quarrels, it will be out of control. He will be notorious. He kept this matter secret, and he didn't expect Ning Yue to know about it. Now that I think about it, it should be when the two were in love that Ning Yue peeked at his phone. At that time, he was obsessed with Ning Yue, and he was defenseless. All kinds of thoughts circled in Xia Lixuan's mind, and he calmed down like dust settled. At this juncture, it is obviously unwise to go against Ning Yue, and Ning Yue is right in one point. Now that his face is being torn apart, outsiders will only think that he is heartless and ungrateful, while Ning Yue earns enough sympathy. I called you not to regret the marriage, Xia Lixuan said, I just want to inform you that we need to do a premarital property notarization. Hearing this, Ning Yue smiled lightly, with blatant disdain. She didn't pay much attention to the Xia family's money. If it wasn't for the sake of overcoming the difficulties in front of her, why would she insist on marrying Xia Lixuan? Because she doesn't want to be pitted. Don't want people to think that she is a poor, abandoned woman. People will talk about her, so what about the ladies from aristocratic families? Are you still being dumped by men? Ning Yue can't stand this. She must marry Xia Lixuan. Even if you get divorced in the future, it's better than being a bride abandoned by the groom. After hanging up the phone, Ning Yue looked at the photo in front of her again, her eyes turning frosty. Muzi, I will definitely repay you 100 times, 1,000 times these humiliations. Give it all back to you. Sitting in the back seat of the car, Muzi was dumbfounded for a moment after hearing Murong Cheng finish talking about what happened in Xianghai. You mean, someone used the casino as a cover to sell drugs? This is a common occurrence, Murong Cheng said, we used to turn a blind eye and close our eyes. Recently, we have rectified a few times, but there are still people who fish in troubled waters. The guests in the casino are usually rich and bold, and like to have fun, so they become the targets of some dealers, some sell fans, and some introduce girls. In short, good and evil are mixed. Murong Cheng didn't care too much in the past, because many of these businessmen were inside the casino, taking advantage of the convenience of their positions, earning some extra money. They could also bring in guests from outside to generate income for the casino. But Huang Logui's words were like a curse, ringing in his ears from time to time, sometimes making his heart jump. Murong Cheng is arrogant by nature, he is not afraid of death, but he is really afraid that his retribution will fall on Bai Wei and Muzi. So he started doing good deeds. Not only established a charitable foundation, but also rectified the casino several times in succession. As a result, the business of the casino continued to decline, and the people below complained. That's how Sidu Yan's question at the dinner table came into being. Sidu Yan is very concerned about Xianghai's situation. Muzi worriedly asked, where's the district attorney? Did you check it out? I've asked Wang Zhan a few times. Murong Cheng patted her head and said calmly, don't worry too much, it's just a routine inspection. Muzi frowned, still worried. She believed that Murong Cheng's business would not be poisonous, but the people under him might not be so. When the interests of the two conflicted, Would Murong Cheng be in trouble? How could it be so easy to abandon evil and do good, and cleanse oneself? Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 1024. It's hard to clean up, but for Murong Cheng, now is a good time. Since Huo Zheng's death, the Huo family has been in disarray, and many people have defected to him, so it is very suitable for transformation now. In addition to casinos and several overseas mining farms, Murong Cheng has also started to get involved in real estate, medical institutions, and investing in emerging technology industries. All eggs cannot be put in one basket. Murong Cheng was very busy, and after spending a few days with her in Jingling, he went to Xianghai City. Subconsciously, Mu Zi began to pay attention to the news of Xianghai Mu's group. There were sporadic news every day, and it really wasn't good news. Either a fight broke out, or a drug addict was arrested. Alas, looking upset. As the days entered October, there were more and more news about Mu Zi on the internet. Most of them praise her, saying that she is a good litigator, a rising star in the judiciary, she is so good before graduation, and her future is limitless. Mu Zi felt embarrassed at first when she watched the news, but after reading too much, she became numb. It's just that the wind direction was slightly abnormal later on. The news on the website started to blow up, and even put down their rhetoric, saying that there is no lawsuit in this world that Situ Music can't win, and the reposts on Weibo are all her praise, almost deified her. Mu Zi felt something was wrong. She didn't pay for advertising, so who praised her so hard? Extremes must be reversed. After boasting too much, people on the internet began to get annoyed, and voices of opposition emerged one after another. What's so great about boasting like this? Beware of falling into trouble in the next case. Rich people are like this. They want the whole world to know about a little achievement, tisk tisk. However, these voices were quickly drowned out by more praise. A day later, some people on the internet started to question Situ Muse's purchase of a naval force to build momentum for himself. Mu Zi couldn't laugh or cry. What kind of power did she create for herself? Do you have nothing to do? The development of the situation was simply inexplicable. Mu Zi obviously did nothing, but the plot on the internet was full of ups and downs. First she was praised as a holy white lotus flower, and then she was called a scheming green tea bitch. Even the people in the presidential palace were alarmed. Situ Yan called in person and asked her if she needed to interfere with public opinion. The presidential palace has a team that is responsible for dealing with this dangerous situation of public opinion, and achieves the purpose of controlling public opinion through incitement, guidance, manipulation, and utilization. No need, as long as you ignore it, the heat will go down. Mu Zi politely declined Situ Yan's kindness. The public's memory is very short. Even if the whole people are discussing it now, who will remember what was the last headline? What about last time? What about last time? Mu Zi went her own way, went to class as usual, and was completely undisturbed, even though she had been scolded all over the internet for being black-hearted, black-lung, black-hearted, and black-hearted. Before class, I met Zainan and chatted for a few words. Zainan said hesitantly, "The news, I saw it, don't take it to heart." Mu Zi nodded, "Well, I don't take it personally." Zainan felt that his consolation was meaningless. The class bell rang, and it was Liao Liqin's class again. Liao Liqin's course is halfway through, and homework has been assigned in the last few classes. How many credits can she get in the end? Homework grades also account for a certain percentage. Mu Zi's homework score is not bad. Not the highest score, but in the excellent ranks. Mu Zi guessed that when Liao Liqin gave her points, she must have been very reluctant, gritted her teeth, and suffered a lot. Fortunately, Liao Liqin still had reason and did not give Mu Zi a low score because of personal prejudice, otherwise Muzi would have to go to the dean's office again. The students all took back their homework and discussed their grades with each other. The classroom was full of noise. Muzi also glanced at Zainan beside him. The homework in Zainan's hand didn't have any grades, only 3 bright red words: failed. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 1025. Muzi was surprised, subconsciously looked up at Zainan. Zainan's face was pale. He tightly squeezed the few pages of documents in his hand, his eyes were fixed on the 3 words unqualified, his lips trembled. If his homework is wrong or not done well, Liao Likan can give him a low score, so that he can get a higher score for the next homework to maintain the average grade. But Liao Likan directly gave him a disqualification. It means that there is no grade for this assignment. For example, when calculating the total score of the college entrance examination, Zainan directly lost one subject score than others. Muzi felt that Liao Likan had gone too far. But it does fit her usual strict style. Once Liao Likan catches her wrong, don't think about it. Go and ask the teacher when get out of class is over, Muzi whispered to Zainan, find out what's going on, maybe she can help you make up your marks. Having said that, Muzi felt that it was unlikely that Liao Likan would be willing to give points. It was just related to the final grades, so she should fight for it no matter what. Zainan looked at his homework and nodded blankly. When the get out of class was over, the students left the classroom one after another, and Liao Likan also packed up her things and prepared to leave. Zainan picked up his homework, plucked up the courage to step forward, and asked modestly and carefully, Mr. Liao, is there something wrong with my homework? Liao Likan raised her eyes, glanced at Muzi behind Zainan from the corner of her eye, and then landed on Zainan. You don't know your own homework, Liao Likan spoke harshly and looked indifferent. I ask you to write criminal defenses according to the cases I gave. What are you writing? Zainan's face turned paler. Liao Likan was merciless. You are the only one who failed in the class, Zainan, you should go back and reflect on yourself. The first semester has just started. If this continues, how are you going to graduate? After finishing speaking, he glanced at Muzi behind him, and said coldly, don't think that you can sleep peacefully if you fall in love with certain people. If you don't have background or money, you should concentrate on your studies. All your thoughts should be on picking up money, climb to the top, and you will only regret it in the future. Liao Likan's voice was not low, and the students who hadn't left in the classroom couldn't help but look over and size them up curiously. Zainan's face turned from white to red, and he stood there and let her scold him, extremely embarrassed. Muzi also felt embarrassed. She and Zainan were obviously just ordinary classmates, but in Liao Likan's mouth, it turned out to be flattery and flattery. Liao Likan turned and left. I'm sorry. Zainan blushed and apologized to Muzi. I've hurt you. None of your business, Muzi replied. She suspected that Liao Likan was venting her anger on purpose, as if she hated everyone and disliked her, so she even disliked Zainan, who was close to her. For this homework, Liao Likan gave Muzi a reasonable score, so Muzi had a better opinion of Liao Likan, but now she was angry again. Show me your homework, Muzi said to Zainan. Zainan froze for a moment, then handed it to her. The content of this homework is very simple. The teacher gives a case, and then the students write a criminal defense statement based on the testimony and evidence in the case. Writing written materials is the basic skill of every legal worker. Not only must he be able to write a defense statement, he will also be exposed to civil and criminal complaints, judgments, etc. in the future. Muzi glanced at the 10 lines quickly and frowned. She finally knew why Liao Likan failed Zainan. This defense is full of words, but there is no defense. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 1026. Zainan, you can't write like this. Muzi I returned those pages of documents to Zainan, with puzzled eyes. Why did you write like this? Isn't it right to write like this? Zainan looked blank, and looked down at his homework again. This is not a defense at all, Muzi I said. Zainan, think about it differently. If you were your agent, would you be willing to see such a defense? It is almost the same as a confession. Zainan was slightly embarrassed, and murmured, but he is a murderer, the blood in his house matches the corpse, and the neighbors also heard the quarrel between the two. Apparently he killed the other party during the quarrel, and then threw the body into the facts of the crime are clear, and all I can do is to help him reduce his punishment. Muzi I sighed in her heart, she felt that Zainan had missed the point at all. Were you there when the crime happened? Muzi I asked him. Zainan was taken aback by the question. This is just a case. It's a fabricated story, it's false. How could Zainan be there? Since you're not at the scene of the crime, how do you know if he committed murder? Muzi I asked. Zainan hesitated. There are bloodstains of the victim in his house. Muzi I interrupted him. Zainan, you are wrong. What the teacher wants us to write is a defense statement, not a criminal complaint. Your role is a defense lawyer, not a prosecutor. You must make it clear that no one will knowing what the truth is. Your duty is to provide a strong defense for your client. Do your best. Even if he is a murderer, Zainan showed embarrassment. Muzi I was helpless, and raised his forehead and said, anyone is innocent until he is convicted. No matter how brutal and terrible the crime he is accused of, he has the right to a fair and legal trial. And the only way to get this kind of trial, is a defense lawyer defending them with due diligence. But look at your defense, Zainan, you have deprived him of his legal right to a trial. As his defense lawyer, you must do your best to protect his interests under the premise of legal compliance, at all costs, even if he is a murderer. Zainan frowned, and couldn't help retorting, you know that he killed someone, but you still try to help him get rid of the crime. Doing this, isn't it a bit immoral? If you are a doctor, and there is a murderer who is dying in front of you, can you save him? Muzi I asked him. If you save him, maybe he will kill again in the future, so is your act of saving people immoral? The duty of a doctor is to save lives and heal the wounded, and he will not consider whether the patient is good or bad. The same is true for lawyers. Regardless of whether the client is good or bad, the lawyer's primary duty is to maintain the normal operation of the judicial process. Even if he really killed someone, to be executed, his life must be deprived of his life through legal and just procedures. Muzi I really cared about Zainan, so she wasted so much time to say such a thing. Zainan took the judicial examination 5 times, and finally entered the Judicial Training Institute. Muzi I sincerely hoped that he could graduate smoothly. Zainan seemed to understand a little bit, scratched the back of his head in embarrassment, and asked in a low voice, then what do you think? How should I change it? Which is better? Rewrite it, Muzi I sighed. You have to understand that the prosecutor initiates the public prosecution, the lawyer provides the defense, and the judge judges in the middle. This is the trial triangular structure. In this structure, no corner can be neglected. Otherwise, the balance of prosecution and defense will be broken, and it is easy to fall into judicial arbitrariness. So before you consider morality, you must be clear about your institutional role and whether you have fulfilled your duty. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 1027. Muzi I said a lot, but Zainan didn't know how much he listened to. He always had a confused expression, but when he thanked him, he was full of sincerity, and he was very grateful to Muzi. Muzi finally knew why Zinan Hui had to take the exam 5 times before getting in. First of all, there is a problem with his concept, as if the prosecutor's job is to catch the bad guys, while the lawyer's job is to help the good guys. In fact, the work of prosecutors and lawyers is the same in a sense, they both work for the court and to maintain the country's judicial system. Through each case, we will work hard to improve the judicial process and avoid wrong judgments, rather than just dealing with good and bad people. Of course, defending the bad guys always has to bear great psychological pressure and be tortured by the inner sense of justice. This is also one of the reasons why Muzi prefers to be a prosecutor. She thinks that she does not have the psychological quality to be a qualified criminal lawyer. At the same time, she admired the criminal lawyers who held up important links in the judicial structure. Muzi and Zinan talked a lot about his unqualified homework. Zinan thanked him again and again, and happily went back to do his homework. His chubby figure makes his back look round, and his walking posture is a bit condescending, which makes people feel inexplicably funny. Muzi watched him walk away, smiled, and then went home. After arriving home, I received a call from Zhang Ci. "What's the matter with those messy things on the internet?" Zhang Ci asked her. "You just don't care." Apparently Zhang Ci also saw the remarks that smeared Muzi. Muzi is eating cheese yogurt with blueberries in it, sour and sweet. If it wasn't for the guidance of someone with a heart, I wouldn't be so angry all of a sudden. "Let's wait and see for a while," she said while eating. Zhang Ci asked, "Do you suspect that someone is playing tricks?" "I don't know." Muzi was careless. "If no one is causing trouble, the fever should subside after a few days. If someone is causing trouble, what will happen?" Muzi pursed her lips, brushed the yogurt at the corner of her mouth with the tip of her tongue, and said lightly, "Probably, it will give me a surprise." Zhang Ci listened to Muzi's calm tone, as if she had made arrangements, so she didn't worry about it anymore. Later, Muzi really got a surprise. On the internet the next day, a short video went viral. The protagonist of the video is Muzi, and his line is only one sentence: "You must do everything you can to protect his interests, at all costs, even if he is a murderer." This short video, which was taken out of context, was frantically reposted by the public, with the title, "How the President's Daughter Plays with the Judiciary." The number of page views soared. The shooting angle is from behind Zinan, half of which is covered by Zinan's fat body, and the other half reveals Muzi's solemn face. Because of her serious expression and her strong tone, it feels like she is reprimanding her classmates arrogantly, and the content of the reprimand also caused an uproar. This is too scary. Ordinary people do not understand the triangular structure of the trial, the importance of the balance between prosecution and defense, and the value of procedural justice. They only knew one thing from this video, and that was that Sidhu Musa was working for a tiger. All of a sudden, the entire internet was condemning Muzi. The next day Muzi went to school, as if nothing happened. When Zinan saw her, he immediately explained anxiously, "Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't know this would happen. What can I do? It must have been taken by my classmates. I will clarify. I will issue a statement. I can't let them slander you." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life. Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 1028. Muzi looked at Zinan. Through the thick bottle-bottomed glasses, she saw confusion and anxiety in his eyes, and a thin layer of sweat broke out on his brow. When she saw that video yesterday, she really suspected Zinan for the first time. But after thinking about it for a while, he felt that Zinan had no reason to do so. First, She and Zainan have no grievances or enmities. Secondly, Zainan has a cautious personality. He knows that he is not very smart, so he believes that stupid birds fly first, and he doesn't seem to be someone who plays tricks. Even if it is really a conspiracy, it should not be in this form. After all, manipulating public opinion is too technical for Zainan. What's more, offending her, what good will it do Zainan? At first, Zainan approached her and showed her goodwill, more or less wishing to respect her and make friends with her. It was unreasonable for him to come out like this suddenly after the relationship between the two gradually became harmonious. It's okay, Zainan Muzi. I smiled slightly. I don't care about those online, let them say whatever they want. Zainan's face turned pale, and he said anxiously, it's all like this, is it okay? It's useless to be anxious now, with so many mouths, don't you expect me to fight back one by one? Muzi. I still looked calm. Zainan couldn't help but said, at least we should clarify that we can't let them slander you like this. Before your words, there is clearly a sentence of legal compliance. The video was deliberately edited to mislead everyone. Maybe they are waiting for me to clarify. Muzi. I smiled, not in a hurry or annoyed. Zainan was taken aback for a moment, then realized something, looked around nervously, then lowered his voice and asked Muzi. You mean, someone planned all this behind the scenes? The corners of Muzi's eyes drifted towards the door of the classroom. Without answering, she smiled lightly and said, class has started. When Liao Liqin walked into the classroom, Zainan immediately shrank his neck, and obediently sat back to listen to the class. Muzi looked at Liao Liqin calmly. Could it be her? It's not quite like. Muzi was carelessly writing and drawing on the paper, and she vaguely had a candidate in her heart, but she couldn't be sure what the other party wanted to achieve. It would seem a little painless if she was just relying on the traction of public opinion on the internet to pour dirty water on her. After all, they are all speculative things. Once the public opinion response team of the presidential palace is dispatched, this trouble can be easily resolved. So, what exactly is that person trying to do? What will be the next move? Muzi thought to herself. Those who don't want to attend the class can go out now. Liao Liqin at the podium suddenly spoke up, and said in a cold voice, if you win a few lawsuits and feel great, and look down on my small class, there is no need to waste it here time. I hope you will also have this leisurely mood when you get your credits at the end of the semester. Liao Liqin was lecturing again. Muzi pouted. Sure enough, it wasn't her. Even if Liao Liqin wanted to take revenge, she would definitely choose a more straightforward way. The online public opinion became more and more violent, and Muzi was curious about how far it would evolve, so she greeted Murong Cheng and asked him not to interfere. In the end, Situ Yan couldn't see it anymore and asked his subordinates to intervene. However, just as Muzi guessed, once the situation improves slightly, the opponent will show a new card. A series of negative news about Murong Cheng was thrown out. True and false are mixed together: murder, drug trafficking, smuggling, usury, illegal money laundering and so on. This news exploded like a blockbuster with a bang. If the husband is such a villain, where will the wife be innocent? The crowd is boiling. Angry netizens collectively lost their memory at this moment, and completely forgot how many orphans and widowed elderly and out-of-school children were helped by Murong Cheng's charity fund. They were just dominated by anger and strongly resisted Muzi's such an evil person becoming a judicial worker. A joint letter even appeared on the internet, demanding that the Judicial Training Institute expel Muzi. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 1029. Muzi looked at the turbulent waves on the internet, and she felt very puzzled. Could this be the purpose of that person? Drive her out of the training institute? It would be too childish to force a student to be expelled from the Judicial Training Institute by gathering a random group of people to create a joint book on the internet. The significance of the existence of the Judicial Training Institute is to cultivate excellent judicial talents for the country. It will never punish any student without a trial, otherwise it will be like going back to 2000 years ago. In that era when there was no law and no order, all it took was one person to shout slogans and stir up anger, and the crowd dominated by emotions would raise stones and crush the so-called sinners to death. I felt that the scene should not be over yet. In the evening, the sky darkened, rain clouds accumulated in the sky, and a patter of autumn rain fell. After an autumn rain and a cold, I's hands and feet were cold, and she shrank into the quilt, quietly watching the raindrops on the glass window gradually denser, converging into a stream, and sliding through zigzag water marks. The sound of a car engine was faintly heard. I was slightly stunned, and waited under the covers for a while, when the door was opened. Cheng walked in, their eyes met, he smiled with his lips hooked, "You know I'm coming back, so you waited for me on the bed early." I shrank back under the blanket, "It's so cold today." Cheng took off his clothes and lay down on the bed, hugged her into his arms, and pressed her cheek to feel a little cold, and I's hands were not too hot. The temperature in Jingling has dropped, and people in Zhonghai City are still wearing short sleeves. Cheng held I's hands in his palms and asked her, "Is it warm?" I was grinning, her little feet stepped on Cheng's calf, "It's warm, it's warm." The two cuddled together under the blanket and remained motionless. After a while, Cheng chatted about things on the internet. "Should we arrest him?" he asked. Cheng has already found out who is behind the scenes, which coincides with I's guess. "No need." I shook her head lightly, "the teacher came out of nowhere, and it's useless to arrest her." Although the internet has existed for a long time, the legal provisions related to the internet are not yet complete. Even if I wants to sue for defamation, it is useless, because the other party has done nothing, but a group of netizens who don't know the truth are constantly replying under the guidance, and the situation is constantly fermenting. Besides, the video with the beginning and the end cut off is indeed true, and there is no forgery. As for the news about Cheng, it has long existed on the internet. What the other party did was to collect and organize, making Cheng's crimes look even more unspeakable. I sighed softly, "It took a lot of trouble, I really don't understand what she wants to do." "Maybe I just want to disgust you," Cheng said. To spend so much effort, and deliberately put aside his relationship, just to make I sick? I didn't take it seriously, but she also knew that Cheng was trying to comfort herself, so as not to be affected by such things. "Otherwise, I'll teach her a lesson for you," Cheng asked, "I'll relieve you." I rubbed against Cheng's chest, and said, "No need, I want to take another look, I always think she will do something else." Cheng lowered his head and kissed her hair, but didn't say anything else. The next day, a well-known writer posted on Weibo, claiming that the recent social phenomenon related to Situmuse's cyber atrocities is a worrying one. Treating a 19-year-old girl like this is a public absence, and he suspects that this is a premeditated smear. Immediately after this blog post was published, it was forwarded by many big vs, including famous entertainers, idol stars, scholars, journalists, and so on. The whitewashing campaign against Muse began quietly. "Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again." Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 1030. Some people say that netizens are like goldfish with only 7 seconds of memory. Whether this assertion is scientific or not has not been verified in detail, but the trend on the internet does change day by day. I was discredited mainly based on 3 points. 1. Young and vigorous, he thinks he is great after winning a few lawsuits. 2nd, the 3 views are not correct, personally saying that defending the murderer must be done at all costs. 3. Flaunting justice is actually hypocrisy. As a student of the Judicial Training Institute, she is married to a lawbreaker. The Public Opinion Crisis Public Relations team of the Presidential Palace tailored a whitewashing plan for Musei. First, arrange for those public figures with their own fan base to speak out for Musei, instead of digging into Musei's character. First, denounce the atrocities on the internet and suppress the arrogance of the black fans. After the situation stabilized, it was the turn of the judiciary to excerpt a speech from a well-known American lawyer, translated, and it was basically the same as what Musei said in the video, so as to prove that Musei's words and deeds did not have 3 views. Finally, it was Murong Cheng's turn. This one really can't be cleared up. But it doesn't matter, in today's society true love is innocent, they can still play the love card. One of Murong Cheng's subordinates accidentally revealed to the reporter that Murong Cheng, in order to pursue Musei, did not hesitate to hide his name and pretend to be an ordinary person to apply for a personal bodyguard. This matter was immediately confirmed by the officials at the presidential palace, saying that when Musei wanted to marry her bodyguard, the president had indeed been troubled at home for a long time. This time, the entire network exploded. Clearly worth more than 100 billion, but insisting on pretending to be a poor boy in order to pursue true love. But any woman, from the age of 8 to 80, cannot resist this kind of love. No matter what murder and arson violate the law and discipline. Never mind. As long as you are together. Whoever wants to dismantle CP is a public enemy of society. At this point, the crisis of public opinion on the internet has been completely resolved. Netizens are no longer angry, and now they only want to gossip about how the president of Zionghai Mushi Group acted as a little bodyguard. Murong Cheng lived up to expectations and appeared on a popular talk show on the weekend. Being able to get in touch with entertainment variety shows is naturally indispensable for Gu Liang's help. When recording the show, Gu Liang sat in the studio and watched. Tongwu walked over, avoiding the cameras in the front row, and said in a low voice, "Master," he asked the host to add lines. Obviously it was Murong Cheng himself who asked to be on the show, but he insisted on the host telling the audience that it was the program team who invited him repeatedly. Gu Liang felt a headache, sighed silently, and said, "Let him go. No matter how long it takes to get to know this guy's rogue nature, he won't be able to get used to it." The host saw too many ghosts and monsters, and after receiving the instructions from the big boss, he didn't question it at all, and still kept a perfect smile in front of the camera. Today we are very honored to invite the CEO of Zionghai Mushi Group, Mr. Murong Cheng. Everyone welcome. There was a burst of sparse applause. It was originally a recording and broadcasting, and there was no one else at the scene except for a few staff members, but it doesn't matter, anyway, the sound effects of enthusiastic applause will be added in the post-editing. The host said, "Recently, there have been a lot of news about Mr. Murong Cheng on the internet. Our program team has always wanted to invite Mr. Mu to chat, but Mr. Mu is busy with work, so it is really not easy to find time to come here." What? After finishing speaking, the host said again, "It's a pity that Ms. Sidhu didn't come together. I believe the audience friends also want to see her very much." Murong Cheng said, "You can invite her alone next time, but I'm afraid the two of us can't be on the show together." The host couldn't help asking, "Why is this?" "Because she would blush in front of me, she couldn't record the show normally," Murong Cheng said frankly. Gu Liang in the audience. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 1031. The show was recorded for 2 hours and was eventually cut into a 35-minute talk show. On the bright side, he was talking about how he acted as a bodyguard in order to pursue Muzi, and how he knew and fell in love with Muzi. Secretly maintaining Muzi's image, helping Muzi gain favorability in front of the public. For example, he said that his bodyguard would deliver supper to Muzi in the middle of the night, because Muzi always studied late. For example, it was said that Muzi was worried that the innocent client would be sentenced, and she was under too much pressure before the trial, so she locked herself in the room and only allowed Murong Cheng to enter. Such small details, while showing affection, imply that Muzi is a good boy who is hardworking and has a sense of justice. The host also asked about the negative news about Mushy Group. Murong Cheng admitted frankly, before I took over the Muse Group, there were indeed various problems in the group. We are trying to solve them, and so far, we have achieved some remarkable results. In one sentence, leave it clean. All mistakes were made before he took over, it has nothing to do with him, and he has been working hard to correct them since he took over. What a rascal. So, does Mr. Mu have any plans or hopes for the future? The host asked. I'm going to try to run for the next mayor of Xianghai City, Murong Cheng replied. The host was surprised. Is it planned for a long time, or did it suddenly come to mind? I can't say how long, but it has been a while, Murong Cheng said. I should be the person who knows the economic situation of Xianghai City the most. Xianghai City has developed rapidly over the years, and I also want to contribute to the city. Cities do something. The host hesitated and said, but as far as I know, the Mu Group seems to be facing multiple charges. Will this affect your participation in the election? I think this is exactly my advantage. Murong Cheng talked eloquently. I know the city, and I know the crimes in the city, so I know better than anyone else how to put an end to crimes. Regarding this, Mr. Sidhu Yan he has given me many suggestions, which have benefited me a lot, and I am confident that Xianghai will become better. The host suddenly said, Mr. President also supports you to participate in the election. Murong Cheng nodded, of course. When the program reached this point, Sidhu Yan got up from the sofa in anger. When did I support him? Sidhu Yan was angry. How shameless. Chen Kaling looked at her husband in astonishment, not understanding why he reacted so strongly. Maybe it's just for the effect of the show, Chen Kaling said. What is said on the show may not be true. You don't understand. Sidhu Yan couldn't calm down. The mayor of Xianghai City is still in office. If this word gets out, people will think that I want to remove the current mayor. He has done a good job as mayor, now what would you think? Chen Kaling murmured, but, isn't it good for Murong Cheng to be the mayor? Didn't you always despise him for his crooked ways? Sidhu Yan. What? It seems that this is the case. Sidhu Yan touched his chin, concentrating on it. This method seems to be feasible. If Murong Cheng can become the mayor and act in a serious manner, it will be beneficial to Muzi and will not hinder his daughter's reputation. Ask the Secretary General to come over, Sidhu Yan said. Chen Kaling was puzzled. What are you doing? It's so late. Hey. We need to study how the mayoral election works. Sidhu Yan was annoyed. A group of hooligans under Murong Cheng's hands, what kind of campaign do they know? At that time, he will have to send a think tank to help. At night, Murong Cheng, who also watched the show, called Gul Yang. I suspect that my amnesia has not been cured yet, Murong Cheng said, otherwise, why don't I remember? You are such a stingy guy. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 1032. Gu Liang looked down at the time. 12 o'clock at night. Waiting for Zizi to call and scold me after she fell asleep, Gu Liang smiled lightly. It seems that you and her are not so close. Don't change the subject, Murong Cheng asked him. Why were all those scenes cut out? Gu Liang replied, the length of the program is regulated, and only clips that are worth broadcasting will be edited into it. Is it not worth broadcasting, or you don't want people to watch it? Murong Cheng smiled meaningfully. Guliang, you are dishonest. Guliang was silent for a while, and said, it's too late, go to bed. What's the rush? Murong Cheng said, speaking of us getting married, you haven't sent your blessing yet, how about it, do you want to make it up now? Guliang smiled helplessly, you're really making progress, aren't you afraid that extreme joy will turn into sorrow? If Zizi doesn't want you in the future, don't cry. Unlucky, Murong Cheng was slightly annoyed, and was about to fight back when Guliang had already hung up the phone. Murong Cheng looked at the phone where the call ended, his thin lips slightly curled up, and there was a bit of playfulness in his smile. If he hadn't personally participated in the recording, he might not have discovered it, and all the clips of him throwing dog food were deleted from the show. Specifically, as long as it mentions how Muzi likes him, it will be deleted, and the clip of how he likes Muzi will be kept. For example, he said at the beginning that Muzi would blush easily when he was with him, so it was cut off. What Murong Cheng expressed was originally to be pleasing to each other, but after being deleted, it makes people feel like he was stalking to finally win the heart of a beautiful woman. And that seems to be the case. The person on the bed grumbled in his sleep, as if dissatisfied. Murong Cheng hurried over. Muzi opened her sleepy eyes, and complained nonchalantly, why did you run away while sleeping? The bed is cold. Murong Cheng kissed her, and carefully hugged her into his arms, it's not cold anymore. Muzi rubbed back and forth in his arms, adjusted her posture for a while, and finally fell asleep. Murong Cheng also closed his eyes. After the crisis of public opinion passed, Muzi's reputation became bigger again. Muzi still went to school as usual, she didn't feel anxious when she was hacked, and remained calm when she was praised. It's even more admirable for her to be so flattered. In fact, Muzi was just waiting. She felt it was never over. After silently following the trends on the internet for a few days, without any ups and downs, Muzi thought for a while, and ordered Shen Guanqi, arrange someone to watch her, and then find someone to check where she has been recently and who she has met. Shen Kong was a little puzzled. Muzi added, for the time being, don't let the people in the presidential palace know, so as not to cause trouble. I hope I am worrying too much. Manager Shen nodded and said yes, and went down to make arrangements. Only 2 days later, Manager Shen brought back news that the other party went to meet someone, and the person sent to follow him was far away, so it is not clear what the two talked about, but they were secretive when they met, so it must not be. It is a matter of seeing the light. After Muzi found out, she was silent for a long time. Shen Guanqi asked, are you sure you don't want to tell Mr. President? The other party is planning everything, I'm afraid that the visitor is not good. What's the use of telling the president now? She just met someone and didn't do anything. Muzi said, if I really told her, I'm afraid she will beat me back and ask me why I investigated her. Shen Kong was very worried. Although Muzi is at ease, she also has hidden worries in her heart, not worried about what will happen to herself, but worried that the other party will do something stupid. Don't make it impossible in the end, it will be troublesome at that time. The more she thought about it, the more annoying she became, and Muzi went to bed early that night. When Murong Cheng went to Xianghai, the bed alone always felt a few degrees cooler than usual. Muzi tossed and turned and couldn't fall asleep. In the middle of the night, I received a call from Chen Kaling. Her voice was urgent. Zizi, can you come to the police station? Yue, something happened to Yue.